Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World, and a happy Tuesday from everybody here at Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, David On Point Huffman. Right there is the GOAT, Mr. Israel Rivera. Welcome into the show, my friend.
Baby.
On today's episode of the show, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Kind of a surprise team last year. Broke out in a big way, made the playoffs, after that down season after the Super Bowl. Most people didn't think the Rams were going to be all that good last season. Shocked a lot of teams, made the playoffs, won a playoff game too, right? I mean, they did beat they get beat by the Lions in the first round. I don't remember, but they get taken out by the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, so they got taken out by the Detroit Lions. If I'm not mistaken, who did I don't think they didn't face Tampa, did they? In that first
because Tampa beat Philadelphia.
Tampa beat Philly.
I think in the wild card round they just got beat by the Detroit Lions.
We have to get that together. That was information we should know already.
But thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams, and we have 5 teams left after today. Tomorrow we're doing Fantasy Football Weekly, so don't want to miss any of that content. So please like, share, and subscribe to all of the platforms. Let's talk about the Rams. Let's talk about some storylines. First, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, Aaron Donald, calls it quits in the offseason. How do they go about replacing a guy who's arguably the greatest defensive player ever?
That's an interesting. Well, you're not gonna replace one of the greatest interior defensive linemen of this generation, right? The guy was so dominant. He's one of the few dominant interior defensive linemen that were, played a big part in a team Super Bowl. Like, he's one of those transcendent defensive superstars that you'll never see, again, with that explosion, from the defensive tackle position. But what do? You draft a guy last year in Kobe Turner. You haven't played next to him. Learn on the ropes. Kobe Turner showed that he is a budding star in this league. I wouldn't say that he's on Aaron Donald's level at the moment, but Kobe Turner's a really good player.
He had 9 sacks as a rookie last season, a 3rd-round pick out of Wake Forest. Arguably could have been defensive rookie of the year. I mean, he was really that good last season, alongside Aaron Donald.
Yeah, absolutely. You go ahead and get him. You go ahead and you bolster the rest of that line, right? You're not gonna.
They dressed it in the draft. I mean, they took the 2 kids
Jared
from Florida
Verse
State,
and Brandon Fisk.
Jared Verse, and
So
it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be committee. Like, they're going to have to be a bunch of guys that contribute to this. What is going to be a productive defensive line, because there's no replacing Aaron Donald. It's going to have to be a bunch of guys that kind of contribute to this defense.
But they played a 3-4, right? And you're Kobe Turner, if I'm not mistaken, last year was playing the nose tackle next to Aaron Donald.
He's right now playing right D end.
He's playing. Yeah, he's playing on the other side of
nose tackle.
Yeah, he's playing on the other side of Braden Fisk. So this year you add one of the big shocking guys in terms of Braden Fisk, in terms of what his talent, his athletic attributes were at the combine. Right, he wild eyes. He had one of the fastest 40s, probably if not the fastest for any interior defensive lineman out of the draft. And you pair him next to Kobe Turner, who's another, who showed 9.5 sacks last season. You're expecting those 2 guys to kind of share the load of what Aaron Donald, had. And you know what? Aaron Donald had the right to leave when he had.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl.
He doesn't have anything left to prove. He's got three defensive player of the years. He's got a Super Bowl.
Got a Super Bowl.
I mean, he's an 8-time All First Team. He's a 10-time
Pro
Bowler.
First ballot Hall of Famer. I mean,
100%.
So
I mean, 111 sacks from the defensive tackle position.
That's unheard of. That's like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's more than what Warren Sapp Like, because when I was growing up in the 90s, it was Warren Sapp was my guy. And then when I became, an adult in the 2000s, 2008, 2009, 2000, like, and on, for this generation, Aaron Donald is this generation's Warren Sapp. 100%.
Warren Sapp had 96 and a half sacks throughout his NFL career, which spanned 12 years. So
the thing is that Warren Sapp, the difference between Aaron Donald and Warren Sapp, Aaron Donald was a physical specimen beyond no other, as opposed to Warren Sapp kind of broke down later on in his career, especially in his Raider days. So Aaron Donald was is probably, and when it comes down to it, of all time, probably the best, one of the best, if not the best defensive tackle in the NFL. And I think the Rams, they got a good, they got a good guy in Kobe Turner, and drafting Braden Fisk. I think they'll be all right moving forward, getting younger. And I think, you should see some things happen this year on that defensive line for the Rams.
Moving on from the defensive side of the ball, let's swing on to the other side on the offense. Let's first talk about Matthew Stafford. Already kind of dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury. The seasons that Matthew Stafford's been healthy as a member of the Los Angeles Rams, this team has gone to the playoffs. The team has won the Super Bowl. The season that he basically missed most of the year, they were a top 5 pick team. Can Matthew Stafford stay healthy? And can this offensive line keep Matthew Stafford healthy? Brought in Jonah Jackson from the Detroit Lions. You brought in Kevin Dotson. Can Matthew Stafford stay healthy and Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of the insurance policy. He's suspended for the first 6 games. What are your expectations for Stafford this year?
Well, I think that he proved last year was the same question, right? Coming off that, was it that back injury?
Yeah.
Or spine injury,
back or neck injury.
It was like, well, they were saying like he was one hit away from, damn near being paralyzed. Yeah, retirement. And he proved that he stuck in there. I think when did he start? He came back like week 4 or something. I know like first couple games he might have been out. If I'm not mistaken.
So
he might have missed preseason. Maybe that was it. But I mean, anyways, he proved that he can play. He played through that injury last year. And yeah, he's breaking down a little bit. But one thing that I will say, the offensive line is 2 years ago the offensive line was a mess. Last year it improved dramatically. This year I think it's improved again. And I think when you add, when you got 2 guys in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, then also at running back.
We'll talk about that in a second, but
yeah. Well, I mean, and then you got Kyron Williams.
Shout out Kyron Williams
from hold on, David, from the University of Notre Dame. Anyways,
you also have Tyler Higbee, who's still a very good tight end.
You have Blake Corum in So I think what I like to say is he's got a lot of weapons to get the ball to. I think he's going to get the ball out fast this year. I think, they're going to be able to run the football with Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. I think he's got his insurance blanket and Tyler Higbee. And, I think this offensive line is improved. Like you said, they added Jonah Jackson. They added Kevin Dotson. You already had Steve Avila, who's, one of the best centers in the league. Rob Havenstein's another great tackle at the right-hand side. So I think this team is going to be A-okay offensively this season. Now, if he can't stay healthy, now I do have some questions, right? I mean,
I have some major questions.
If he can't stay healthy, then you said, Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of an insurance blanket. I see Stetson Bennett back there. We already know Stetson Bennett has personal demons.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are fixed yet. I don't know where Stetson Bennett's head is in terms of football. Hopefully, it's in the right spot.
He hasn't really been good in preseason. He was abysmal in the first week. He was a little bit better in week 2, but he only had up to go. He couldn't have gotten any worse. But But yeah, I think if Matthew Stafford can't stay healthy, I mean, this season will be lost. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo suspended for the first 6 games. He hasn't proven, anyways, that he's any good anymore. So yeah, the keeping Matthew Stafford healthy is going to be crucial, and a big part of keeping him healthy is this wide receiver duo with the Cooper Kupp and a Puka Nacua. And kind of the question is this the best duo, wide receiver duo in the NFL? And like, is there a duo that you'd rather have right now?
Well, no. I mean, at the moment, I mean, we got to think of some of the duos out there.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You got the duo in Philly with
Devontae Smith and AJ
Devontae
Brown.
Smith and AJ Brown. You got a good trio of wide receivers in Chicago. But and the list goes on and on. You got in Tampa Bay, you still have Mike Evans and
yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of them, but I think when it comes down to it, I think Chris Godwin. That's like when it comes down to it, this has to be probably the best, the most skilled. I think, in my opinion, they're not stupid fast, but they run probably the best tandem of route runners probably in the NFL. Both of them get a lot of yak. They can take a screen pass and take it for 20 yards. They're sure-handed. And you have to be sure-handed if you're catching balls from Matthew Stafford, right? Because Matthew Stafford's throwing lasers, he's breaking fingers, he's throwing lasers. Have you seen Calvin Johnson's hands? Okay. They are abysmal. Like Calvin Johnson was, he could, went on and, said that Matthew Stafford damn near broke every finger in my hand. So, so like you have to be sure-handed to catch a Matthew Stafford laser. I think this duo of wide receivers is probably the best, in my opinion. There's a lot of good ones, but I think this one has to take the cake. And I think it takes the cake because obviously we already knew what Cooper Kupp was, but Puka Nacua,
he broke a 50-year record, a record that stood for 50 years.
So and so when I look at it, and I even called it last year. I said, man, I told everybody, I said, man, Puka Nacua is a guy to watch out for, and he really took that, that mantle. I mean, when Cooper Kupp was out, he was, the guy. For the first part of the season, or first few games of the season, while Cooper Kupp was coming back. So hey, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. And I'm actually, if TJ was here, he would say, "Gotta prove it again, Puka.
Do it again, yeah, do it again."
But dude, it's like it's not like Puka Nacua is the only guy on his team. Teams have to strategize. They have to get game plans for Cooper Kupp. You can't just leave Cooper Kupp open, right? You can, so you have to double Cooper Kupp when he gets it going. That leaves Puka Nacua on the other side getting it going. Oh, and then when you double team both of those guys, now you got the other guys flying around. Who's the young
Robinson?
The Marcus Robinson, but it was Tutu Atwell.
Tutu Atwell was like
the burner out of the slot. Remember, Tutu Atwell was catching, bombs from Matthew Stafford when they were trying to double team both of those guys. Tyler Higbee. So this offense is probably going to be with everything combined. I think this offense is going to be a top 7 offense. I'm not saying top 10, but I think top 7. 7 is the low bar. I think the ceiling for this offense is top 3, in my opinion, in the league.
Yeah. I think we got some comments here on the Facebook page. We got John Dorn. He's made a comment about the Rams destroying the Lions in week 1. We'll talk about that here in a minute. He said the Bears wide receivers are overrated. That's a hot take. And then he must be a Packers fan. This must be one of your boys.
He's definitely a Packer fan. Yes, he is.
Packers had the best wide receiving core, hands down. And as a collective group, I don't know. That's crazy talk. Like, I think as a collective, like 5 guys, like you might have the best 5 receivers in the NFL. But swing it out from there. Let's talk about the draft. This is the first year in a while that they had a first-round pick. They used it to take Jared Verse of Florida State. They went back-to-back Florida State guys with Brandon Fisk, Blake Corum. They took a safety out of Miami, Florida, the U. They took Breanna Jackson, an edge out of Washington State. They took another interior defensive lineman out of Clemson. They took a kicker out of Stanford. They took a wide receiver out of Texas. They took a center out of Arkansas, and then they took an interior offensive lineman out of Kansas State. But I think the big part of this is going to be talking about their first 2 picks. They needed to get better. They needed to replace Aaron Donald. Then they needed to generate a better pass rush than they were able to last season. They addressed those with their first 2 picks. And I like Blake Corum as a backup running back to Kyron Williams, kind of the change of pace, that goal line thumper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. I think that the first 3 picks are the highlight of the draft. But, just watching, not watching, but just seeing, observing their preseason games. This kid, Jordan Whittington, 6th-round pick, his first 2 preseason games. Let me pull up the stats. 11 catches, 126 yards on 18 targets.
Wow.
So when we talk about they made a hit lightning in the bottle twice on late round drafted wide receivers. Can you imagine if this guy ends up being another Puka Nacua on top of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua? Jordan Whittington is making a case to be their wide receiver 3 so far in preseason right now as a rookie. Let's talk about Jared Verse. Jared Verse at number 19, he was considered to be a top. If he would have came out the year before, he would have been a top 3 pick. Maybe would have been a number 1 overall pick. That's how high people had him on draft boards. Braden Fisk obviously showed his butt at the combine, which elevated. He was, maybe at the beginning of the season, maybe a late round pick. That combine really shot him up into the top 3 rounds. And then I like Cam Kitchens. He's a nice hard hitting safety, ball hawk as well from the University of Miami.
11 picks since 2022, the most at the position coming out of this draft.
Yeah, he's a ball hawk, man. So when I look at their draft, I think that they did very well, especially with the first 4 picks. And then late round draft picks.
Brennan Jackson, however you pronounce
Brennan
it.
Jackson.
He didn't have sacks last season in 2023. Tied for 4th in the Pac-12. I mean,
yeah. So they had a really good draft. I'm actually, for what they drafted or how they drafted, I'm actually going to give them a B+ A- just because of the needs that they got. They went out and got a guy in Braden Fisk in the 2nd round. Who is going to be a productive interior defensive lineman next to Kobe Turner. They went and got a serious edge in Jared Verse, who was damn near double team, triple team last year. Didn't have the same production as he did 2 years previously, but Jared Verse is a physical specimen like no other. He's a guy that's projected to probably get 10 perennial. Go ahead.
Jared Verse, out of all the Power 5 edge rushers, when it comes to pass rush win rate, where do you think he ranked in this draft class?
He's probably number 1.
2.
Or number 2. Okay.
2. So among Power 5 edge rushers, I don't have that number in front. I don't have it.
Was it the kid from Alabama? Was it probably the kid from Bama?
Dallas Turner, maybe. I don't know.
Dallas Turner, yeah.
But I agree with you. Outside of the kicker pick, I don't really understand that decision.
I don't like when guys do that. This is like, when teams pick kickers, okay, it's like equivalent to when it's a great segue to tomorrow. It's like equivalent to if it's not Justin Tucker or somebody that's gonna get a bajillion points and is gonna kick multiple 50-yarders consistently. I don't care. I'm picking that guy undrafted. I'm not picking. I'm not wasting. People
get kicked like that kid Brandon Aubrey didn't get drafted. He played in the UFL or one of the USFL, and now he's one of the best kickers in the NFL. You can get kickers later. You don't have to draft them. But I like their pick. I like their draft. I give them a solid B+. 2 free agency. Not a lot of departures. Obviously, we talked about Aaron Donald a little bit. Coleman Shelton is also out the door, but they did add some serious depth. They get Jimmy Garoppolo to be their insurance policy just in case anything does happen to Matthew Stafford, God willing. They bring in Tre'Davious Ward. Kind of needed a fresh start, fresh scenario there. He kind of got banged up a lot in Buffalo. He hasn't quite been the same guy over the last couple seasons. He's had back-to-back season-ending injuries. Darius Williams, who used to be a Ram, comes back. Jonah Jackson. They bring in Boston Scott, who comes from a winning culture there in Philadelphia, and Carlos Watkins, another guy who's just a serviceable defensive player, will be a rotation edge defensive tackle. But yeah, I think personally, I think they did pretty good. I really like bringing in Tre'Davious White. I mean, if they can get anything out of him, I think that would be
wasn't he one of him and Jordan Poyer were released, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, they were both released
too.
from Buffalo. Or is it? Or no, it might not. Okay, so it might have been Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, not Trey White
and Tre'Davious White.
And Tre'Davious White got.
I think they were all released. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, yeah. Well, he's due for a bounce back season, I think, in LA. Anytime a guy gets released, picked up by a playoff team, and he's on the other conference, I think it's change of scenery might do him some well, like you said. But yeah, no, I like what they did. Like you said, I like what they did in free agency. Boston Scott, we already know what he can do, catching the ball at the backfield. You'll see him a lot in like third down situations, especially like I think in situations where the games are close or big game situations. Boston Scott can be relied upon. To catch the ball at the backfield, pick up blitzes, stuff like that. And then
the only thing that concerns me about Tre'Davious White, right, is he's only played over the last 3 seasons. He's only played 21 games of a possible math. I'm not mathing right now. It's not going to happen. He played 6 games last season. He played 4 games last year due to injury. He only played 6 games the season before that. He's just been banged up. And we'll see.
But when he's healthy, he's one of the best. He's one of the best, cornerbacks in the league. You know what I mean?
Without doubt.
But those injuries do suck you out.
Season where he had 18 pass deflections. Like, he's been a fantastic corner, but he's had like devastating injuries. We're talking ACL. We're talking Achilles. So
yeah, those are the 2 big ones right there that'll slow down your speed and your cutting ability and your athleticism. And he's getting up there. I think he's maybe early 30s now.
29.
Probably what. He's 29. Okay,
he'll be 30 by the end of the season. So
yeah.
But I think personally, bringing in Jonah Jackson from the Detroit Lions, I think he's a valuable guard. Darius Williams is a guy who's been there. He understands Ram culture. Boston Scott is a winning player. I'm not concerned at all about Coleman Shelton.
What about Jimmy Garoppolo? Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. Talk about what
so he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games because of performance enhancing, I think. So he's not going to play. But I think as a insurance policy, as a backup quarterback, I think he's serviceable. He'll do it. It'll work.
I think that as well. I think honestly, I'll be real with you. If Matthew, it's
only 2 games.
If Matthew Stafford goes down and Jimmy G is inserted into the lineup, right? He's a starter. I think with the amount of talent that the Rams have, I think that Jimmy G can, he can beat a point guard. Like, he doesn't have to do too much with the amount of, just have to be accurate, fast, precise with the ball. I think that the Rams won't miss a beat if Stafford goes down. Now, obviously, you want Stafford there, but I think Jimmy, if something happens to Stafford and Jimmy's a viable backup, I don't think the Rams will miss a beat this year, even if Jimmy was even playing quarterback.
I will respectively disagree. Like, I think if Matthew Stafford
I am gonna agree to disagree with you. But yeah, I think Jimmy. I think the Rams. If Matthew Stafford goes down, I think that Jimmy can keep the boat afloat, and I think that they won't sink like you think they will. I think this team won't miss a beat.
If Matthew Stafford gets hurt, it's over. Like, we can sugarcoat it however we want. We can talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo was abysmal last season.
I wonder if TJ was on this show right now. I wonder if he would agree with me.
Well, he's not on the show, so I don't know. I mean, we can ask him in the group chat after the show. But I think that I like what the Rams did with free agency when it comes to the roster shakeup. I like the pieces that they brought in. I think that they're going to improve this football team.
Yeah, absolutely.
to the schedule, and I don't remember what we did first yesterday. Yeah, we did the ceiling first yesterday, so let's do the floor when it comes to the Los Angeles Rams. This is their worst possible outcome is what?
They don't have such a bad schedule. I think their schedule's solid. I think they got the Niners at home. They have the Dolphins at home. They have the Eagles at home, and they have the Bills at home. All four tough games that if they were on the road, I would consider those losses. I think they split those games. I think Detroit's a tough one. They're looking for blood on that one.
I think the floor is something like 7-10. I
was going to say around 8 games.
Like I going through it. I mean, Detroit, I think they lose week 1 to Detroit. They get swept by the 49ers. They lose to Chicago. Don't start. The Packers come. The Packers come to SoFi Stadium and they win.
Don't start. I didn't even say anything.
Yeah, but you were going to. I think they can lose to the Packers. I think they split with Seattle. I think that they lose to Miami even in SoFi. I think they can lose to Philadelphia in SoFi, and they can lose to Buffalo in SoFi, and then they get swept by the 49ers, and they lose to the Jets at MetLife. I think the one thing that they really benefit from is their most difficult games on their schedule are all at home. So, like the Rams' home field advantage is much different than the Chargers. I mean, Buffalo comes to their house, Philadelphia comes to their house, Miami comes to their house. Green Bay comes to their house. Like they don't have to go out. They're out of the division.
Why'd you bring up Green Bay comes to their house? Green Bay comes to their house.
Their most difficult out of conference, out of division games are all at home.
So I think 8 games. 8 games is their floor. I think the ceiling's probably 11 wins. Because when I look at it, I think they were right there. They lost 24-23 against the Detroit Lions in a wild card game. I think they could sweep the Cardinals. That's a game. The Detroit Lions game is maybe a toss-up game. Yeah, absolutely.
Game for Detroit too. I mean, you come in with all this hype, and then you kind of just loyal.
I think they can split with the Niners. Why wouldn't they be able to split with the Niners?
I think they can sweep. They can sweep Seattle. They can sweep Arizona. I think they can win one of these 3 games at home. I think either winning at Buffalo, Philadelphia, Miami, or Green Bay. I think they can win at least one of those 4 games and improve their record that way as well. I think that there's an opportunity for them to beat the Jets, given how their offense is going to be and what the defense is probably going to be like this season. Because we don't really know what the Jets are going to look like yet.
Well,
I'll agree. I think 11. I think 11 wins is probably the ceiling. They're a borderline wild card team. I still think San Francisco is going to have a better record when it's all said and done. But this will be a team where we're going to be hearing from them come January.
Yeah, there'll be another wild card, matchup, and maybe, hopefully it's not against Detroit this time. Maybe it's against Chicago. Either Chicago or Green Bay.
Chicago. Maybe Chicago won the division. Let's go.
No.
Look at you backpedaling.
No. Hold on. Let me pull that back. Let me pull it back real quick.
You've been watching Caleb Williams, man. He's been balling, man.
Hey, you know what? I can't admit, man. Hey, the kid does look good, but I think 11 wins, man. There'll be a wild card team. Who realistically, I mean, whatever. Hopefully, they, I don't know. They won't get a home game, that wild card game, because they're not going to win the division. Yeah. Nope. So they're
but it should be a very good season for the Los Angeles Rams. They have interesting pieces on offense and on defensive side of the football. So I'm going to go 11 wins or so with them, and probably being a wild card team or in the hunt. Yes, I'm going to go 7 wins on the ceiling.
You could say on the hunt.
Yes, they'll be in the hunt for a playoff spot for sure. But this has been our Los Angeles Rams season preview. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We're going to switch our focus a little bit tomorrow as we swing into fantasy football, and we're going to be talking about our preseason rankings. You don't want to miss any of that content. I'm David Huffman. Right there is the GOAT. Mr. Israel Rivera, and Izzy. What do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bring the
Yes,
heat.
sir.
Yes.
And we love it. It's gonna be real cold here in Fort Wayne tomorrow. It might be like record cold.
In the words of Macho Man Randy Savage, no pukesters to the left of me and no pukesters to the right. Don't know what that means. I just wanted to say that because I thought it'd be cool. So yeah,
we'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all have a good night and stay safe out there. Peace out, brother.